Well, hello there everybody. In this video, we're going to learn 3 sick video transition techniques. But first, intro. So rather than telling you how to do the first effect, I'm just going to show you. And so I'm just going to walk around the corner, and before you know it, I appear in a completely different place in completely different clothes. So let me show you how to do it. Okay, so the first thing you need to remember is that you need to keep the lighting consistent. If lighting changes between the 2 shots, then you're going to notice it. Now I have my video track, and then I have a separate audio track for the audio that's going into my lavalier microphone. And if you see here, here's the first part of the video. And right at the end of that, I'm going to cut it and then trim all the way up to where the take is that I like. I have a couple of takes, but I'm going to go up to this take. I did it all in one shot just because it was convenient. And I'm just going to trim it there and delete the stuff I don't want. I'm going to right click and bring them together. Now I'm going to go about to where I disappear, or just past where I disappear out of the frame. That way I have a clean slate to work from. But we're going to have to refine it because you can see there's a slight change in the shots due to the shadow on me of the first shot, and in the second shot you can see the shadow as well. And I'm going to extend the first clip a little bit more, and I'm just going to make sure that I can't hear any more audio from that other shot. Now if you wanted to take it a little further, you can fade the 2 shots together, maybe with a crossfade. That way it's even harder to notice the 2 changes between the shots. Anyways, on to the next one. And so this effect is very similar to the first one, but let me just show you what it's like. And now I'm outside. And it's a pretty simple effect, and if you get it just right, it looks really cool. And also what helps is having the shutter speed a little low. It adds a little bit of motion blur in it. So, inside, outside. So, let's get started. So I have my footage here, it's all in one shot. And I'm going to move into the timeline where I can find the area where I wanted to apply the effect and the transition. And this looks pretty good over here. And I'm just going to trim it up to the second point where I also do the same effect. And already there's a pretty cool transition, but it's not exactly perfect. So I'm just going to click on the opacity, go to time remapping and speed. I want to kind of speed it up a bit to make it a little harder to see. And I'm just going to speed that clip up a little bit by dragging the yellow line up. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And then I'm going to drag them together to make sure that there's no gaps in it. And it's looking pretty good already. And then I'm going to add a crossfade just to kind of blend it together a little bit. And it's pretty much the same thing for the other transitions, so I'm not going to go into those ones. Alright, let's move on to my favorite one. So we're going to learn both of those effects. I want to call these the zoom transition and the spin transition. I don't know if people call them that, but I just kind of wanted to give it a name. First the zoom, and then we're going to learn how to do the spin transition. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you can already see that I have my 2 videos in here. I have a 1920 by 1080 project, and I've imported my videos. So what I did was went between the 2 shots and hold shift and the left arrow key twice. And I'm just going to cut that over there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Next thing I'm going to do is use the presets that I created. You can download them, they're in the description or in the cards at the top right of this video. You can go and download them and use these presets to save a bunch of time and to save, frankly, you pulling out your hair, because sometimes it can get a little bit frustrating. So I've done the hard work for you, and if you don't know how to install the presets, don't worry about it, they're going to be on my website when you download them. So what I'm going to do is drag the easy zoom in effect into the first shot, and then I'm going to drag in the easy zoom out into the second one. So that's pretty much the bare bones of it, and if you want it like that, great, but we're going to take it a little bit further and make it a little more convincing. what I'm going to do is add a default transition, and I'm just going to make it 1 or 2 frames on each side. I don't want to exaggerate it too much, and that just kind of blends the two shots together. And so if I wanted to customize the movement a little more, I can go into the transform value and open the scale, and I can kind of play around with these a little bit. You want to be careful with this, you don't want to do too much, because if you get a negative number you'll start getting some weird stuff. And if you want to make the effect longer or shorter, you can just use the rolling tool on your keyboard. That's going to be the shortcut N, and then you can kind of adjust the keyframe accordingly. And now onto that spin effect. So again, I have a project 1920 by 1080, I've imported my videos and I have them both in my timeline. So I'm just going to go create new adjustment layer, I'm going to drag that on, and I'm going to do the same thing with the shift, left and right arrows. Kind of get a feel of how long you want the effect to take. And then I'm going to hold Alt and drag that adjustment layer onto the top one to duplicate it, because I need 2 of them. And then I'm going to go into the presets again, and I'm going to open up the folder Easy Spin. And I'm just going to drag the in onto the top one and the out onto the bottom one. And at its bare bones, that's pretty much all you need to do. If you want to customize it, it's very similar to the other zoom effect that we did. And I'm pretty sure you've already seen it before, so I'm not going to go through it again, just for the sake of the time on this video. But the same rules apply as before. And actually, I've really enjoyed this episode, so I'm going to give you guys a bonus transition trick. So as you can see, I have another project, 1920 by 1080. I have my 2 files in, and I've kind of trimmed them up to where I want them to be for that transition. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is add a video effect in the transition folder, and it's called Gradient Wipe. And I'm just going to drag that onto my first clip. Now I'm just going to scrub through and go to where I want the effect to start. I'm going to make sure I create a keyframe, and then I'm going to go towards the end of my video and put my transition seed to 100%. Now that's the simple version of it. What you can do is drag the video clip onto the second video layer, and you can overlay it with the second file. That way the bottom one kind of seeps through. And that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. I'm going to make more. And if you want those presets, they're down in the description below or in the top right in the cards. And remember, learn, film, repeat. And until next time, keep smiling, keep shooting.